What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to a new video. In this video, I want to talk about developing a strong routine and sticking to it, sticking to a strong foundational routine for your health. I see a lot of people struggling with this, and I sure as hell know I struggled with it for a long time. A lot of people shift. A lot of people go back and forth between what they practice, and I can understand it to a large extent. I did this for a long time. I'd get really into one healing modality for a while, and then I'd shift to something else, and then shift to something else, and then go back to what I did at one point, and it was like this giant recycling system. There are so many different options right now here in this matrix, ladies and gentlemen, where it can, to such an extent that it can make it very difficult for someone who's interested in approaching health. It can be difficult to even know where to start. So what I've learned over the years, ladies and gentlemen, is that there's always a novelty to starting something new. When people first get into grounding, they might be really into it for a month or two, and then they kind of get out of it and they fade into something different. And so the wheel turns, so to speak. So I did this for a long time. The problem with this, ladies and gentlemen, is that many of these healing modalities, grounding included, they take a long time and consistent effort for you to really reap the reward. Now, I'm not saying that walking barefoot outside for 10 minutes once a week isn't going to be good for you, because it absolutely is. But you're not really going to get the most out of grounding if you only do it once a week. You're not going to get the most out of grounding if you do it every day for a month and then you stop. Sure, you'll get some benefits. But in essence, ladies and gentlemen, when we swing back and forth between healing modalities, it can be very difficult to gauge whether or not they're even working. So there's always a novelty when you start something new, especially with all this natural healing stuff. There's all these herbs with all these claims being made about properties to them. Some of them even have supernatural properties. So when you find something new, oftentimes you feel like, okay, this might be it. This might be the cure to everything, or this might be a huge breakthrough. But more often than not, that novelty fades away, and what ends up happening is you end up chasing that novelty to try to find something that works really well. And I did this for a long time, and over the years what I've found is that there are certain fundamental pillars, if you will, or legs on the table of health that have to be addressed, that aren't something that you should give up, so to speak. There are certain things that have to be addressed for your health, that if you don't address them, it doesn't matter how many herbs and magic potions you have. It doesn't matter how much you chase that high from trying something new. You're not going to get the most out of your health if you don't address the fundamental pillars, or the legs on the table of health, if you will. That's what I like to call it, the pillars of health. So grounding, at least in my system, is one of those pillars. We should all be grounding. It's free. It's part of the environment that we live in. It's a natural reaction to our environment. We're supposed to live outside to a large extent. We spend a large majority of our lives, 95% of your life you spend indoors, believe it or not. And we've discussed this in prior videos. So what I'm here to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that grounding, more often than not, is much more beneficial than all these herbs that people are taking and all these potions that people are taking in their Vitamixes and all this other stuff. I mean, if you really want to experience the power of nature, go outside, the place where the herbs grow. This world that we live in is pure energy, ladies and gentlemen. When you go outside, you breathe deeper naturally. You're surrounded by the chlorophyll, the light, the natural, the lights, the sounds. It's beautiful. We're designed to be outside. So grounding is a foundational practice. It's something that you shouldn't give up on. It's something that you should do regularly. In fact, I would advise that you bring it indoors as well and you ground your bed. Now, there's some safe methods to ground your bed and there's some not so safe methods to ground your bed. So we're going to discuss that in the near future. But, we have to look at things from a common sense approach if we're serious about getting healthy. And what I've found over the years is that the true foundations of real health, the things that support our bodies and our minds and our soul the most, they're very common sense things. It makes a whole lot of sense to spend time outdoors, ladies and gentlemen, does it not? It also makes a lot of sense to be grounded to the earth, walking on it barefoot. Grounding in layman's terms, or in electrical terms, ladies and gentlemen, essentially can be translated as returning to normal. When we stand barefoot on the earth, our electrical field interacts with the earth and it balances out. Everything reaches a normal state. It reaches kind of like a baseline. This is why so many people, when they go outside and they ground themselves for 15, 20, 30 minutes or longer, like I prefer an hour, they feel so much better. So, environment, as we've talked about extensively in past videos, has a lot to do with your health. No amount of magical potions from the Himalayas are going to be able to save you from a purely toxic environment. It'll help a little bit, but it's not going to, there's no way in hell that anything that you bring into your body in the form of a potion or a food can actually mitigate the massive amounts of, electromagnetic fields and all the dirty electricity and, just all of that garbage. Our environment dictates our health to a large extent. So this is why, another foundational leg on the table, if you will, of health that I've come to find over the years. So we have grounding and then we have environment. Now you may be thinking, well, isn't grounding, our environment? Yes and no. We're supposed to spend a lot of time outside in this natural environment, but here in the Matrix, again, as I said, we spend over 90% pretty much of our lives indoors. That's your real environment because you're spending more time by a massive amount in your house. Your house isn't out in nature. It's surrounded by nature depending on where you live, like where I am here in Virginia. But once you step into that house, ladies and gentlemen, you're surrounded by walls filled with electricity, dirty electricity. Most of us have routers, modems, wireless signals coming into our homes. Our beds aren't grounded. We have refrigerators full of crap. We have all this nonsense, toxic paint. We have sharp right angles in our houses. I believe in feng shui, these are called Chinese arrows. The architecture of our houses aren't conducive to the natural flow of energy that comes off of our body. So, environment, ladies and gentlemen, is crucial. So this is why I always put so much emphasis on you going into your home and tweaking certain things about it to make it a more natural environment. You want to modify it so that it resembles more of an outdoors house, if you will. That's kind of a bad metaphor because your house technically is outdoors, but essentially you want your bed to be grounded. What I would suggest doing is buying some shungite and go around and place the shungite or tape it on all of your electrical appliances, your routers, modems, etc. And I would also highly suggest gridding your home with shungite. My house here in Virginia is gridded with multiple grids of shungite. And I also have shungite organite everywhere around this house. I've got it buried. I've got pieces of shungite on all my electrical equipment. I've got it taped to my laptop battery. The smart meter here in this house, it's not technically a smart meter per se. It's a more primitive smart meter, if you will. But it's got shungite on it, ladies and gentlemen. And also, I'll talk more about this in the near future. But that makes a huge difference in your home. A huge difference. But grounding your bed, folks, working with the shungite, bringing crystals into your home, getting an air filter, using Himalayan salt lamps, changing the incandescent light bulbs on your house, changing your light bulbs to incandescents. That's going to make a huge change in your health as well. So modifying the lighting in your house, what ends up happening with modifying your environment, modifying your home, is that you have to invest some money at first. But it becomes one of the easiest ways to get healthy, because once you make the investment and install all the things and make the grids and do all this stuff, get the water filters, you name it, what ends up happening is that it's just like a standby system. The house is just constantly helping you generate better health without you even having to do anything. So for instance, when you put a shower filter on your shower, it's not like when you get in the shower you have to exert any energy. It's not like you have to go run in place in the shower. Putting a shower filter on your shower is the easiest thing in the world. It doesn't require any effort other than buying it and then putting some fucking Teflon tape on the threads and installing it. After that, all you do is you keep doing your same routine, but there's a shower filter on your shower now. It's the easiest thing in the world. Simplicity is key in this stressed out matrix, ladies and gentlemen. So I really want to put an emphasis on this because this is one of the legs of true health. Environment. And we've talked in a handful of my past videos about the goldfish bowl analogy. Let's take a goldfish bowl, imagine it in your mind's eye, and you see the little goldfish swimming around in there. And the water is incredibly murky. It's filled full of crap. Its own waste, products, you name it. Now imagine, instead of changing the water and bringing the water back to a pristine state, you just tried to feed the fish special food that had a detox capability to it, and that instead of you just changing the water, you tried to just feed the fish better. No amount of food that you give that fish will be able to fortify the immune system of the fish enough to be able to endure the constant onslaught of poisons that are saturated in its environment. No, what we do when we're serious about health is we look at things from a common sense perspective. Change your environment. Change the goldfish bowl's water, or change the goldfish's water, and the goldfish will be healthy, and then start feeding it good food. I mean, the keys to health are so common sense that they're almost hard, ladies and gentlemen. They're almost difficult to understand. Simplicity is kind of, or common sense is not so common in this world where we've been hit over the head with complexity. We've been confused into submission. And I've been saying this for years. The Matrix wants you to worry about everything. It wants you to be stressed out. It wants you to worry about, I'm not even going to get into the stuff about doctors. I was going to go on a rant about that, but we'll save that for an upcoming video. So your house is the goldfish bowl. And there's a good chance that if you're watching this right now, I'm not trying to sound judgmental, but there's a good chance that the house that you're watching this video in has compact fluorescence LEDs or energy-saving light bulbs that are killing your melatonin production, your prolactin, your hormones, your neurotransmitters. All the blue light is causing your pineal gland to literally shrivel. So we've talked in the past about blocking the blue light. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go watch my older videos. You got to block the blue light when the sun goes down. There's a good chance, however, on top of that if you're watching this right now, you don't even run a blue light filter on your screens. Windows 10 has these, ladies and gentlemen. Your iPhones, most appliances nowadays have blue light blocking technologies in the screens that you can turn on. You should be running these on your phones, etc. There's a good chance if you're watching this right now, you have not hardlined all of your internet cable, or with an Ethernet cable, your internet system. There's a good chance if you're watching this right now, ladies and gentlemen, you don't have a shower filter, etc. That you're in the goldfish bowl. Now, I know a lot of you guys have at least done some of these principles that I talk about, but you really want to make sure to get them addressed immediately, and they're very simple. Incandescent light bulbs are dirt cheap. They break a lot more often than the CFLs and the LEDs, but what's a few extra dollars to, save your brain? Convenience here in hell has people bound to unhealthy and suboptimal ways of living. Oh, I don't want to have to change my light bulbs. I'll just keep running my LEDs and potentially get brain cancer at age 50 because I didn't want to change my lighting systems. Please. You're meaning to tell me that you have the strength and the endurance to go to work every day and grind your gears, but you don't have the strength to buy some incandescent light bulbs and screw them into the fixtures? What the hell, man? You mean to tell me that you had no problem spending $150 on a pair of shoes or $500 on a PlayStation 9 or whatever the hell they are, but you didn't have $500 to spend on a quality whole house water filter? That's going to give you a hell of a lot more than those mindless video games that are just chewing up your time here in the Matrix. Oh, well, I play video games because I'm bored, man. Well, why are you bored? You do realize that you're living in a reality, right? This is like a dream realm, ladies and gentlemen. Do you have any clue how amazing it is that you're even alive? That you have the ability to perceive things? Go out and look at a goddamn tree. Have a shamanic experience. Move your assemblage point. You're bored, ladies and gentlemen, because you're living in the Matrix. You're bored because there's a part of your soul that wants more out of life, but you think that this Matrix that you live in is all that there is to life. So you try to ease your pain. You try to numb your pain, your boredom, by playing these stimulatory games that are just filled full of nonsense and bullshit. And a lot of the games nowadays have political weaponized messages, and there's just better ways to spend your time. I hate to tell you. Life is the true role-playing game, and you have the ability to level up your character, but you're not going to be doing that sitting in your house all day. Hate to say it. So, we've addressed two fundamental pillars on this table: grounding and environment. Sleep is another leg on the table, but I've talked so much about sleep in the past and its relation to lighting, you name it, and hormones, that I don't want to get into a whole spiel about that right now. Maybe we'll make this a multi-part series on the foundational legs of the table of health, and there's more than four legs on this table. But again, the grounding is free. All it takes is your time. And the changing your fishbowl into a healthy fishbowl, your house, it can cost anywhere from $100 to all the way up to thousands, depending on how far you want to take it. You've got to remember, ladies and gentlemen, that your house is like a battery charger, or it's depleting your battery. You can look at all the, you can look at the things in your house that haven't been addressed. The Wi-Fi, all the nonsense, the ungrounded bed. You can look at these things like applications on your phone that haven't been removed that are causing your battery to drain quicker. In essence, that's what they are, folks. So we've got the grounding pit down there. We've talked about that in past videos. All of these things are things that I'm willing to do to at least try to attain incredible health here in the Matrix. I've done a lot in my house to change the way that the house operates. I've done a lot outside. I spend a lot of time outdoors. And you should too. Once you break free from the addiction of being indoors, you're going to find, ladies and gentlemen, that you've wasted a lot of your time. And we need to come to those realizations so that we can create a new format. The problem with modern living is that we've been following the same script. We've been following the same format since day one, pretty much. This is all most people know. The script, where you work at a job that more often than not you hate. You're stressed out. You don't sleep well enough. You've got to have massive amounts of caffeine just to get out of bed in the morning. Then you come home. You got all these bills. You're zapped of all your creative energy, and we'll get into that in a minute, because that's a huge reason why they want us working all the time and stressed out. They don't want us to have creative minds. But once you get home, you're so exhausted that, that TV kind of looks good. I want to sit down and relax. That beer kind of sounds good. Those cigarettes, I need a fucking cigarette to get through the day, this, that, and the other. And I'm not judging, ladies and gentlemen. I understand it. And I'm not knocking you for wanting to do these things. And I'm sure as hell not knocking people for working, because we need to work. But we should work for things that uplift us. If your job is not uplifting you, ladies and gentlemen, there's a good chance you're just doing it for survival. And although I understand that, we live in a matrix where you've got to pay to play. I'm here to tell you that you can save money and invest in yourself and make your own businesses. There's no reason why you can't be your own boss, other than a limited frame. I mean, if you want to believe that you can't be, go ahead. But you're not really going to get anywhere with that mentality, thinking that you can't be your own boss. You can create your own clothing lines. You can make jewelry. You can write books. There's just an endless amount of things that you can do if you just redirect the energy that you spend doing certain things. Oftentimes, the formula for success is just a reversal of the things that's not bringing us success. It makes sense that if we go the opposite direction of the path that's not leading us anywhere, that it'll probably lead to something better, or at least help us come to a better conclusion on how to handle things differently. I hope that makes sense. So, but as I was saying, they don't want us having creative power. Creative power is our way out. But I know what it's like to work really hard and come home and just feel zapped, to not even want to do anything, to not even want to get off the couch. I get it. So, anyways, I don't want to keep rambling, ladies and gentlemen. We're already 20 minutes into this video. I hope that this video can help convey some simple messages to you that can help improve your life. I talk about grounding and I talk about modifying your house a lot, because your environment is, to a large extent, everything. It's about, if you look at the Zend Avesta, which is a religious document of antiquity, it goes on to say in that book that there's 3 prerequisites to health that every civilization has to have in check if they want their culture to flourish. Pristine air, pristine water, and pristine food. Pristine air. You've got to be able to breathe deep. You've got to be able to breathe clean air. You've got to have clean water, and you've got to have clean food. I think that it could have been taken further, and within today's modern context, we need pristine air, pristine food, pristine water, a pristine resting quarters, a pristine home. We need pristine, unadulterated, non-electromagnetic saturated living spaces, you name it. There's a lot of things that could be added to the Zend Avesta, at least in today's context, where there's so much pollution in our environment. You've got to be healthy by today's standards just to be able to, or you've got to be healthy nowadays just to deal with the onslaught of toxicity in your environment. And don't try to tell me that there's not a lot of toxicity in your environment. There's heavy metals everywhere nowadays, you name it. Bad foods are carrier systems for polyunsaturated fatty acids in massive abundance. There's tons of preservatives and different nanotechnology in the foods, you name it. So we've got to do some backpedaling so that we can unlearn, like Yoda said, so that we can relearn. Oftentimes the unlearning process is simply removing that which you've spent your time engaging in the majority of your life. And we do that through introspection and modifying our behaviors. And a handful of different, there's so many things that we could say. All I'm going to say before I wrap this up, ladies and gentlemen, is that the attainment of, we're going to save it for a upcoming video. Check out that view. Look at the light coming through those leaves. I want to wrap this one up by saying that you have the ability right now, like that, to change your life and put it in the right direction. The only thing keeping you back is the doubts that you harbor in your mind. Peace be with you.